I just don't get it. Everyone's calling the Sharks the Leafs of the West. That doesn't make any sense. And look at how good Joe Thornton still is. Disagree. I'm with Mike Milbury. Send him to the minors. Woo! Are you just gonna get hammered? Get me a toaster. Magic Angel Robot from Winnipeg.
What the hell are you talking about?
This team is ruining my life. What do Joe Thornton and Alexei Yashin have in common? They're both getting paid by NHL teams this season. Stop talking, Mike. It's getting embarrassing. Leafs lose 4-1 to the San Jose Sharks. Thank you for aiding in the tank effort, Sharks. The Sharks are like, what, 4 points back of a playoff spot in the West? And they're the Leafs of the West? How actually dare you? Although, you know what? If the San Jose Sharks did lose this game, they should have been ashamed of themselves. There was a brief moment when Jake Gardiner made it 2-1. I was like, Sharks, you suck. Sure showed me. Congratulations to Joe Thornton, one of the best playmakers of this generation, one of the best playmakers all time, if you really want to split hairs, on his 900th assist in this game. And if I heard the telecast correctly, he is just the 19th player to hit that milestone. Meaning Joe Thornton has had such a good offensive career that he is in a category with less than 20 players in it. Now kids, let me tell you a little bit about Joe Thornton. I remember watching this kid way back in the 1990s. Jumbo Joe, they called him. Was great as a youngster, but for some reason the Bruins were like, beat it kid, you stink. Then he went to the San Jose Sharks and started handing out assists like they were stock tips. Hope you bought high and sold low on Jonathan Cheechoo. And yet after all these years, all these points, people still think Jumbo Joe is a bum, and I just don't understand it. Goofy voice aside, why don't people like Joe Thornton that much? Because seriously, he is one of the most underappreciated players I've seen in my hockey watching life. Guy's got over 60 points so far this season, and he was born in the 70s, which I'm sad to say nowadays makes you an old NHL player. Anyway, let's start talking about the Leafs a little bit. After the game, Jonathan Bernier said that it felt like the Leafs spent the whole game in their own end. They did, Bernie, I feel you. Never good when the goalie says something like that, because goalies usually talk about what? They talk about, oh, the bounces and lucky and oh, my teammates played great in front of me, but whenever they talk about the puck being in their zone the whole game, basically what they're saying is, look at this, you see what I gotta deal with? We do, John, we do, and I'm so sorry. But you know what? Some players played alright. Jake Gardiner has really stepped it up, and as bad as the Leafs have been in the back half, I thought Jake Gardiner has been better in the back half. Good to see him finally get a goal. Brandon Kozin had an excellent effort the whole game. He helped lead to that goal. I like the effort of Leo Komarov. And you know what? I like the play of Andrew McWilliam. I don't even care what you say. And you know what? Even Sam Carey. I can't even really say anyone was terrible. Because here's the thing. You get a guy like David Clarkson who was making over $5 million. Even a guy like Colton Orr, Fraser McLaren, guys that were on one-way deals. If they're playing bad, I think it's fine to rip them. You start tearing into a guy that the team just called up and it's like, man, they just called him up. Asking him to compete with Brent Burns, Logan Couture, Thomas Hertel, that's kind of hard. As long as it looks like they're trying and they're giving their best effort, that's all that matters, and I think they were. So you know what? Bravo to the Leafs' valiant effort, I thought. Look at me being all positive. Look at that. And you know what? Unfortunately, I gotta end the video with some bad news. Matthew West has passed away. And you might be going, Matthew West? Who's Matthew West? I don't even know that name. That's why Matthew West was the man. Matthew West was the founder of CapGeek. Obviously, CapGeek on January 3rd, they ceased operations. They said it was because of health issues, but they really wouldn't reveal much more than that. Matthew West kept such a low profile that I began to think that the owner of CapGeek was actually just operating under some fake alias or something. Almost like some catfishing scenario. That wasn't the case at all. He was just a guy who did good work and didn't ask for any credit. I want to read you a story that I retweeted from Paul McLeod. He was a co-worker of Matthew West. I worked with Matt for about 3 years, and only about 2 years in did someone, not him, mention he was behind CapGeek. Like, oh, by the way, Matt on the side created a website that revolutionized hockey fandom. Just a brilliant, obsessively humble and private guy who died incomprehensibly too soon. It was cancer, by the way, the big, stupid, ugly C. And you see what a profound effect Matthew had on the hockey world in the little time that he had. It almost feels like the hockey world was robbed, you know? Matthew was robbed. It's very frustrating. I tweeted that he basically created hockey's Napster. And I don't know if that's a perfect comparison, but it was something so simple and yet it was so brilliant and the start of something huge. And before you knew it, everyone was tripping over themselves to become the next Napster. And now everyone wants to have the next CapGeek. And there are sites that try, and there are sites that are close, but they're still not quite CapGeek. You know, I think in a lot of fields, especially media, a lot of people are told, you know, stand out, really take over a room, you know, have a loud voice. But I think what we learned from Matthew is you need to let your work do the talking. So if you have something you want to achieve, if you have an idea inside you, do it. Make it happen. Who knows, it could become the next Cap Geek, or better yet, the first something else.